Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cosmic Metamorphosis. My name is Kat. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sorry I haven't done a video. It's been about 3 weeks. I've had a lot going on. Um, just to let you know, just dealing with all kinds of personal issues. I feel like, is anybody else tired of just having to make phone calls and like either your bills aren't right, there's medical bills where they didn't do the billing correctly, or it's just one thing after another. And I feel like I'm constantly having to call people to like get things done. And I'm just so tired of it. I feel like I've done that for 30 some years now, and I'm just done. I'm done. I'm done. I want the system to just fall. I just want the system to fall so that I don't have to deal with this crap anymore. Um, So before we get into it with the, I'm going to do Alex Collier from February 10th of this year, number 176. But I just wanted to see if anybody else was just getting really frustrated with 3D life. I'm just really frustrated. Um, and just to let you all know, like I left my job. Um, I just couldn't do it anymore. And so, yeah, I'm trying to find a new one. And so I've been dealing with that, having to deal with a lot of things on the personal end, and then, just trying to take it day by day so I don't get overwhelmed because things, when you think of everything all at once and you try and think of anything in the future, it's just so overwhelming. I have to tell myself even to like slow down, take a step back, and just live in the moment, because that's all you can do is live in the moment and live for the day, or your brain just goes everywhere. So to try to remain calm, I just try and live in the moment. But so it's been nice having about a week and a half off of not working and not having to work till 10 o'clock at night, and coming home late at night. So that's been nice. And then, like a week before I left my job, I was out in my car on my break, and I was I was eating my dinner. Oh my gosh. And I bit down and I felt my tooth crack. So thank God you can't see when I smile, but I had to have a tooth pulled. It literally cracked way up in the root, and there wasn't anything they can do to save it. So I didn't expect when I went in for them to be able to pull it that day, but I guess eventually I'll probably go in it and have a bridge put in, because it's really odd trying to chew. It's hard trying to chew mainly on one side, like, because the hole just goes up so far into your jaw that, like, it's just weird. It's a weird feeling, and I don't like it. So eventually I'm gonna have to, maybe the med beds will fix that. I think they're supposed to fix your tooth problems too. So we'll have to wait till there's a med bed come around. Anyway, um, yeah, lots of things going on right now, guys. Hopefully you had a good spring equinox yesterday. I had fun. I made little shortbread tartlets with homemade. Um, so I made the shortbread tart crust homemade, and it's really easy because it's just sugar, butter, and flour. That's pretty much it. And then I made a homemade lemon custard, and I sliced strawberries and I put those on top. So we had that. I made that special for spring equinox because lemon's supposed to be a good one, or anything with eggs for spring. Um, so I did that. I had a little glass of wine. I talked to Mama Earth, and so it was a good day, even though, like, here where we were in Idaho, it was yucky and cloudy and rainy all day. Today, it's the sun is out and there's blue sky and there's white puffy clouds. And that's one thing I've noticed. I don't know if people have noticed that the clouds are not, they're kind of like the same as when we were little. At least when I was younger, you'd have these big puffy white clouds and they were puffy everywhere. And we used to have those those weird shaped clouds. Like we still get them every now and then, but I feel like we're getting more natural clouds coming in. So I don't know if I'm the only one who's noticed that or not, but yeah, it's interesting. They were spraying Sunday in the skies, but there again, like I said, I really think if you trust letter 17 in the plan, if Alliance and the White Hats are in charge, there's no way they would allow how would they allow these people to spray this crap in the skies anymore? Okay, if they're in control and they're in charge, they know where these people are. They know how to find them. They know where they're flying in and out of. So you can't tell me they're allowing that bad crap to be sprayed in the air. So that's just my opinion. But anyway, so today we're going to do Alex Collier's 10th of February from 2023. Today is actually March 21st. So I'm a few behind, but he was doing question and answer webinars on Thursday, and then the next day he was doing the regular webinars. So he explains kind of in his next webinar, which I'm doing right now, transcribing right now, how he's changing that scheduling. Um, so he was doing so many, and I didn't have time. I was working so much, I didn't have time to do those other ones. So I'm a few behind. So please be patient with me. Thank you for all you new subscribers. I really appreciate it. I love all of you. Thank you. You are my tribe. You are my soul tribe. So, oh, I watched a video with JCK, she did with Mark Devlin, but they were talking about truthers out there in the movement that were basically like fake or infiltrated, because yes, the truther movement is infiltrated as well, with operatives. Um, yeah, and it makes you wonder when you watch certain people and they were talking about this, that they show no emotion. There's no emotion whatsoever. So you know they're not genuine, like they're almost trained to not show any emotion. Um, so I hope y'all know, like I'm natural. I rant, I go off on things. Like I am a natural person. I don't consider myself a truther. I consider myself I just want information. Okay. I want everybody to know this information. I want you to know our true history. I want you to know where we're going, and that everything is going to be absolutely fabulous when we come through all of this. So, anyway, let me let me get on with this. So Alex says, "Hi everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm expecting some packages, and my anti-delivery system is likely to bark at some point." And he was laughing because Merlin was barking in the background. He says, "So I'm apologizing up front for that." He says, "Look, I did a 5-minute voicemail, you could call it, on Telegram, just talking about some things." He says, "There's so much going on, and everybody has been checking each other's work. And I've been saying this for quite some time." He says, "Even my work gets checked, and we have some really stellar guests today." He says, Space Force, Space Command, Patrick Air Force Base, we have people who listen there. Yes, we do. And so, guys, he says, gonna get we're gonna get this right. We're absolutely gonna get this right. So, just so you know. I know there's a lot of speakers, researchers who feel like they don't have access to direct information. He says that's not necessarily true. It's just that the information is being shared in a different way. And what I'm talking about is that there are many, many people who still think that nothing's happening. people in my family too. Oh my God. Oh my God. You can put facts right in front of their face and it just goes, wow, right over their head, right? I just don't get it. I don't. Um, it says, because they haven't heard it on CNN or MSNBC or the Communist Broadcasting System, CBS. He says, did I did I say Communist Broadcasting Network? Yeah. Says they haven't heard it there, and you simply can't believe anything they say. And whatever they tell you, you have to believe the opposite. Exactly. They have been in this business for years for causing confusion, misdirection, and fear. That hasn't changed yet. Occasionally we see a glimpse. We're being told that the white hats have total control. He says, I'm not exactly on board with that just yet. I don't think they have total control, but they're getting there. He says, as far as controlling all of the news, but you have to understand they know they're backed into a corner. He says they understand that the benevolent military white hats, and he kind of laughs, he says, are coming for them. He says, but they're trapped. They're stuck. They have done horrible things. They have taken all this money. They have sold out and lied about their country and humanity. So there's nowhere for them to go. Bastards, right? They're going down. They're going down. Sorry. I'm going to increase my volume. I totally forget. I'm sorry for those of you who can't hear. I always forget to turn up my volume when I do these videos. I need a new microphone and things. So hopefully when I get some money coming in, I will get those things. Said, so that's one aspect of it. Says, but there is information being released on the web through Truth Social, through Twitter now. He says there's a lot of information that is coming out and you have to work to get it. You have to do the research, or you have to connect with people who are doing the research. And this is how it's going to be for a while. Not a long while, but even if it's another 3 weeks, he says that's just how it's going to be, because so much of our infrastructure has been completely compromised, and it's really, really sad to say. He says the entire system needs to be rebuilt because it was designed to mislead, misdirect, and take humanity so far away from who it truly is that there's no way it can find its way back. There's just no way. And it has to be taken down. Like demolition on a building, you just have to take it down. Bring in the bulldozers, clear the land, and rebuild. It says that's what's before us, not only in America, but around the world. Now, that's not literal about every single thing, but when it comes to governments, it is literal. It says we're going to have to do that. Many governments will completely change how they've ever been. Many governments will be going to a constitutional republic type of government, and they've never been there. We haven't been there since 1871. So we have a lot of catching up to do as well, because we don't remember. He says on Nights of Terra, Shrooms of Terra, and other channels, we are limiting the information of other channels on it. He says, and the reason for that is that I understand people wanting to share information. But what happens is somebody reads something on Nights of Terra that had absolutely nothing to do with me or anybody else on Nights of Terra on the Telegram channel. And then they say, I said it, when in fact I didn't say it. It says that's somebody else's information that gets commingled with everything. And then people get all frosty and they're like, well, you did say it because I saw it on Nights of Terra and I had nothing to do with it, he said. And in fact, it was information, and sometimes is information. He says, I am diametrically opposed to. He said, so we're making some changes to that, and it's already begun. The admins will give you, I think, 2 warnings. And if you don't stop doing that, then you're gone. And that's simply because we have to. Now, we always encourage everyone to do the research to find out what it is that you're looking for. It says, but know the source. But just like I had people crawling up my behind about the source, it said, you need to know the source as well. You have to do your own research, because in doing the research, you go down the rabbit hole yourself. And that's really important because you need the experience. You need to know what's there. You need to know how to find it. So when you do find it, you have all these circumstantial evidence around you that give it credence. And then when you pop your head out of the rabbit hole, it says, you know what you know. It said so that when you talk about it to someone else, you know you're coming from a place of knowledge, of knowingness about what it is, because you've done the work yourself. And if they ask for a source, you can give it to them, or references. You can give it to them. You know, this isn't just about knowing about this. It's knowing, it's actually knowing. It says the territory, knowing the territory, knowing the turf, knowing the issues that face humanity, because whether you like it or not, you are now a forefather or foremother. It says you are here giving birth to a new America, to a new humanity, to a new world. That's where we're at. It says that's where we're at. That's where the military's at. The honorable civil servants, wherever they are on this planet, the honorable doctors, the honorable healers like Val and others, this is where we're at. And you have to know the difference. Otherwise, we're going to create the same old system. And ladies and gentlemen, that system was so broken that their only solution to keep it going was to remove humanity from the face of the earth. Now, if you can't see that, then nothing I say is going to help you. Nothing, or what anybody else says either. It says because you have to just make a decision to give, because you have just made a decision to give your power away, which is never a good thing. Never. In that 5-minute video, I talked about the kids. I know some of you are going to shake your head like I did, and I'm still doing. But I talked about how kids are front and center and the process of what's going on in notifying the parents and trying to return the children who were rescued back to their homes, to their families. You can't believe the pushback from people. And because they're simply not attached to the issue, but there was pushback. And I don't know what to say to people who pushed back on that. It says, you know, they simply didn't care, other than to say, you are members of the human race, right? And that is the question. You are members of the human race. Because if you're not, you need to raise your hand so we can put you with your own kind, and I mean that sincerely. So we can put you with your own kind. Now, the information that's being shared now, there are very notable, renowned speakers who know this, but it isn't enough for them, and it isn't fast enough, and they feel they are privileged to be able to go directly to those who are running the ops to take to take out the deep state, the cabal, the super soldiers, the alien human hybrids. And not all super soldiers are bad, but some. He says their minds, they went crazy, that they should have access to it. If that were the case, you'd have access to it. None of us do. None of us have direct access, and there's a very specific reason for that. So I think basically what he was saying was that a lot of these truthers in the community claim they have intel, okay? And they really don't, because any of us out here on the public forum we don't have intel, okay? We don't know what's really going on, because if one of us in the public knows, then the bad side's going to know too. So all of that that's why you have disinformation agents. That's why you have people not telling the truth about things, or this is why they drop dates and nothing happens. So just be aware of that, is what he's basically saying. He says, we are fighting an enemy and fighting a war we've never fought the likes of before. And this is for all the marbles. He says this is for everything. This is for the surface of the earth and for the survival of humanity. Literally. And the military is going to do it their way. They're going to do it in a way they know, a way they trust, that using the people that they know that are responsible, that they can trust to do the things that they do. They're going to keep it close knit, compartmentalized, because this is what they've always done. And we need them to do it. And we need them to do what is that they need to do, he says. Now, if you are of the mind and I guess he said, yoke that we're all being set up for a fall, he said, then you have to ask yourself, why would we have all the information we already have? Why would they tell us about the kids? Why would we learn about all of the corruption? Why would we learn more and more and more about the deep underground military bases? Why would they be telling us about the money laundering of all kinds of money? It says Department of Defense money, etc., through the Ukraine. Why would we be learning all of this? Why would the information that's being drizzled out through disclosure regarding Solar Warden and other programs that have been in effect for decades, why would we be learning about this? Why would we see all of the aerial phenomenon in the sky, the ships and the clouds? He says there's so much information. What's going on with the sun? He says, and all the big ships that are plugging themselves into the sun and drawing energy from it. That's being shown on the Soho satellites. That was a few years ago. There was a video that came out. Yeah, you could probably do a search for it and find it, but there was a huge sphere, like a planet, that literally looked like an umbilical cord, and it had attached itself to the sun, and it was drawing energy from the sun. It was absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, the sun. This next webinar, he talks about the sun, and I do have videos from when I first started my channel, of a physicist who actually talks about our real sun. We know really nothing about it. He says, why would you bother to wake us up just to turn around and shut us back down? He says the genie is out of the bottle, ladies and gentlemen. The genie is out of the bottle. Yeah, why would you do all that? Just to put us under a new world order. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would this information that we've known, some of us have known for a very, very long time, is finally coming out? Why would you drip all this information and make it look like a ridiculous movie? Because like I said, like you watch things and you're just like, oh my God, that is so ridiculous. There's no way possible this could be true. No way. There's no way. I keep telling my family members, it's a movie. It's a movie. You know, they'll say like, oh, that's so ridiculous. Can you believe that? And I just laugh at them and I'm like, do you see now? Like, do you see how ridiculous and stupid this is? This is not real. Like, this is a movie. Do you not understand that? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. He says, we'll never be the same. We're never going to be who we were 4 years ago. There is no going back, and that's the way it should be. This is the way it's going to happen because this is the way it's going to happen. There's no point in spilling milk and talking trash and getting all negative because you yourself are uncomfortable with information you don't know. You probably, well, the Q team has said it themselves, you have more than you know. And he kind of chuckled at that. He says, it isn't that hard to figure this out. It isn't. He says, it's just that you have to let go of the old world. We all do. We have to let go of all of the old information and the way the old world was in order to broaden your perspectives to see all that is. It's obvious. I said that twice. It's obvious. It's obvious that everything has changed. It's obvious we're not going back to the old ways. Just look at what the pharmaceutical companies have done. Look at what the medical establishment has done to humanity worldwide. And now look at what's happening. And that reminds me because there was a newspaper article, even on our front page in our local paper, and it talked about how, these basically the kids getting out of high school now, they are not going to college anymore, and a lot of them do want technical training. I talked about this years ago, where we need to bring in the apprenticeships. Okay, instead of spending all this money sending your kids to college and them having to take classes they're not even interested in just to be able to get a degree, it's ridiculous. I saw that when I was 18 and I'm like, I'm not going to college. There's no way. Like, I'm not, it's stupid. It's stupid. Like, why would I spend all this money and take classes? For one, you're barely passing them, but you're giving them thousands of dollars to take this class just so you can make, have a certain degree. No, we need to train these kids in apprenticeships. Maybe these kids, and I know because if I was a younger, in the younger generation, I would love to be able to go to a tech school and learn something, learn a trade, learn to do things. If you want to be a vet, go study with a vet, go work at a zoo. If you want to work on computers, work with someone who's really good in computers and programming or whatever, this new quantum system coming in. We need kids to learn trades so that they're actually getting hands-on experience and they are ready, to get out and help others, and help the world advance. So I see it coming, and I think a lot of people are really liking that idea. The schooling system has been broke for a very, very long time, and all they care about is money, money, money. And then they take away music and they take away crafts and arts and all the cool classes that, even we had when I was younger. They just don't have it anymore. So he says, what we are seeing, he says, a transfer of knowledge. We are seeing new technologies, healing technologies, quantum wave technologies, sound frequency technologies, HCQ, ivermectin, the truth about cancer, of it being a parasite, right? All this information is now out there. They can't put it back in the bottle. And this is significant. He says, you think all this would have happened 15, 20 years ago? Hell no. He says, we got doctors still in jail for telling the truth about cancers. They're still in jail, or they were eliminated. Doctors, nutritionists, naturopaths. He says they were taken out for telling the truth about some of these diseases because it affected the medical establishment, the medical mafia's bottom line, which was control and the money, the Benjamins, he says. That's what they wanted, was control. And the Benjamins, he says, that is over. He says, that's over. There's still a small percentage doing their thing, yes. He says, I see the pharmaceutical companies' advertisements on the radio and as such because they don't know what else to do. He says, because they're programmed, they're robots. He says they're just robots. They don't know what else to do. Amber. Got my lap kitty today. It says, and they're stuck. There's nowhere else for these people to hide. And then one day it's just gonna be gone. Yes, it's gonna be gone, okay? He says, you won't hear from them again, but you have to fight the most important battles first, and that's control of the sky. He says, the governments and the monetary system. And we're there. He says, we are there right now. 90% of the information that you're hearing about through the media is disinformation. And I've said this many, many times and for many years. If you take what you hear and you flip it backwards, that's what the reality is, okay? That's what the reality is. And see, this is why, like, I stopped watching the news and all those kind of shows, yeah, probably over 10 years ago. Probably 15, maybe 20. I don't know. I lost track. But yeah, I've just learned to flip everything they say and flip it the other way. And that's the truth. So that's how I've lived my life. Says, so there's another way. Okay. Says, follow Q. Apparently they're coming back. They made a notification. It's time to come back to go public again. They haven't missed a delta, ladies and gentlemen, in 5 years. They have not missed one single delta. President Trump hasn't been wrong about a thing, anything. And he laughs. He says, you can hate him all you want. But if someone's telling you what's up and he hasn't been wrong, you better pay attention or you're just an idiot, okay? He says, and this has nothing to do with like or dislike. This is not a popularity contest. This is about moving humanity in a survivable direction, in a direction that empowers humanity because we have to survive. The agenda of the cabal is clearly out there for everyone to see. Bill Gates is still talking smack. He says, even if it's Bill Gates, which most of us know it's not. If you saw the State of the Union address, whoever's playing Joe Biden couldn't have told more lies. It's just not possible. And he laughs and he says, it's just not possible. He could have lied any more than he did. And the woman who's pretending to be Kamala Harris says, I'm guessing they put her mask on very poorly. So it'd be obvious it wasn't Kamala Harris if you're watching a movie, okay? The white hats are making it so obvious. It's a wonder everyone hasn't tripped over it. And I would also like to remind you of something, because we're going to talk here about the monetary system, and then we'll close with the kids and some other intel. Like I said, like it's so ridiculously obvious. Like if you're not questioning what they're doing, I don't know, you must really be in a coma to not see what's going on and how ridiculous this is. Who was the Secretary of the Treasury under President Trump? You remember? Stephen Mnuchin. What is Stephen Mnuchin known for outside of being Secretary of the Treasury? And I did look this up several years ago, and it does say a movie producer. Okay, it's interesting. That's an interesting coincidence, isn't it? He says. You think he's helped consulting on how to roll all of this truth out? He says, giving it bits and bits and bits and pieces, as opposed to flipping everybody's mind and freaking everybody out, getting them used to this change of information, getting everyone ready to make a change by showing them that clearly what's been going on and what we don't want. And the ones who suffered the most have been the children. Yes, the adults have gone through a lot. Kids are innocent. They can't defend themselves. We're supposed to defend them. They've been getting it. What's happened to them is going to turn everyone's stomach. Everyone. I'm just going to say it now. And I've said this before, even those of us who have been awake and we've known what's been happening to the kids, I'm sure some of the stuff that comes out will even affect us as well. So be prepared. He says in some of these facilities, they had young women who were just breeders. They were just breeding children. And the purpose of that was for organs and achrome, as he says. You understand? He says, you understand? What was the purpose? Now, when things happened on this planet, to races, to cultures, and the best example I could give you, and probably one of the most recent examples that I could give, is the Native Americans' Trail of Tears. The Cherokees and other tribes, their suffering, their anguish, their sorrow was felt off-world. It was felt off-world. Why? Because we're all connected. What the children had been going through from Dulce and other places around the world, their suffering was felt. Now think about that. Think about that. In protecting each other, we will remain free. Oh, I got goosebumps on that. That's just not a word. That's just not a motto. It's gotta be a fucking creed, he says. It's gotta be a creed. We have to start doing this. We have to make a decision that we're no longer going to let the media, a government, a religion divide humanity. We just can't do it. We will not survive. We'll just recreate this whole scenario all over again. Yes. That reminds me, because I was watching Carnival Row, and the Black Raven group, and they were saying basically, like, one lady was saying, I don't like you and I don't believe in you, but for you to, I don't want you to be the leader, but she goes, I'm a part of this group, and basically, like, they covered each other's backs no matter what, even if they didn't like each other, like they were a family, like they had each other's back, and I just thought that was cool. He says, now there's a point in the future where all of the things converge. He says they converge. All these loose ends, all these broken systems, all these broken attitudes, all these broken hearts, all these broken minds. There is a place in the future where all of these things come together and a light explodes, and it's the heart of humanity. The sons and daughters, the brothers and sisters of Source, where they come together and there's this explosion of light. It's like, wow, we got it. We got it. We figured it out, and we drop all the bullshit, all the ego, and we get it. What's the most important thing? Love thyself. Love thy brother. Love thy sister. Because that is the source we came from at the beginning anyway. In other words, we return home, and in returning home, we unite ourselves, and it not only creates a healing here, but out there as well. And we know this because the sorrow of past civilizations that were lost, that were destroyed, that were genocided, that sorrow, that anguish was felt off-world. All of this will be shared with humanity. It will be. I don't have all the answers about the past. I don't know that anybody does. We have bits and pieces, and everybody's working as hard as they can to put it all together and to try and make it make sense. But there's still huge gaps in our past. There are still things we don't know, but you don't throw it all away. He says you don't. You put it in the back of your mind, and as things unfold, and more information comes together and you get pieces that connect, then you bring that information back to the forward and then you connect the other pieces. And now we have a bigger piece of the puzzle. It will all at some point make sense. And I'm not talking hundreds of years, I'm not talking centuries, I'm talking at most a few decades. It says now, one of the big things that's coming outside of the sky event, which I will not be talking about today, is the monetary system. So basically, yeah, hopefully he'll talk about the sky event. We'll see. Now, someone I really trust, he says she is an amazing person who has amazing experiences through military, has told me the collapse of the United States dollar has already occurred. It's already done. What we're living through now is just the propping up stage because we're waiting for other countries to hurry up and get through their process so that when this happens, those countries are not destroyed themselves. Now, we have been taught in America that we were always the good guy. Now, this would be true if the American people, for the most part, of the American people, for the most part, okay? Most Americans are incredibly generous, will help each other. We will definitely help each other in a time of crisis. We come together and we band together and we do the right things. But the government as a corporation, which took many of us quite a while to figure out, worked with international corporations. And they were very, very cannibalistic, very aggressive in stealing the resources of other countries. And I have said this as well before. Many horrible things have been done in the name of the American people that we know nothing about. That is information that is going to be coming forward. It's all going to be laid out here, folks. And it has to be. It has to be. We cannot move forward living with illusions. It's just not possible. So there won't be any illusions. I say this because there are some very huge things eminently soon. Just let me put it that way. And for all the blessings that America has had, it is time to pay it forward. It is. And it is time to do it, not only from the heart, but in the spirit of, in protecting each other, we will remain free. And what I'm talking about is the QFS, revaluation of the world's currencies to asset backed. Now, for those of you who are military, who are listening, or retired, who are still drawing a pension, the US Treasury pulled the G fund out of the stock market a few days ago, and they did that to protect the fund. That's a big deal. That's a big deal, he says. And of course, you didn't hear about that on the lamestream media, okay? But that's a really big deal. And I'm sure you can figure out why they did that is to protect the fund and what's in there, to do what they can. And when it comes time to flip it over to the quantum system, no one has lost anything. Everyone is still protected except those who committed treason. They're not protected. Now, more and more countries are moving to asset backed. More and more countries are joining BRICS. The whole purpose of BRICS is simply designed to take down the Federal Reserve System or the Rothschild Rockefeller banking system because it's just dark. It's dark. Its intention was dark. It was solely designed to indebt every human being on the planet, every government in every country, to make them the god, to make them god of the earth. So it has to be taken down, and it has to be taken, and it has to be taken down. Or as my friend had just told me last night, it's already done, okay? What we are seeing is a part of a movie. So at this particular point, those of you who have foreign currency, You do not surrender that to anybody, and you do not give it up until you go to the banks or the center. There are some things you need to know. And he talks about how to do some banking stuff. And there was a little blurb that went up on the screen that said, Alex is not a financial advisor. But he says, I didn't put this list together. I added to it. But this list is excellent. This list is some of the things you're going to want to do that you're going to want to take note of. So you're going to have to replay this many times over in order to get everything that's here, all right? Oh, and I just read the other day, speaking about BRICS, Zimbabwe has said they wanted to join BRICS as well. Yeah. So he says the first thing is that Iraq has been removed, delisted as a terrorist state, and the Iraqi dinar is going to be put back on the forex imminently. And that's because it's an asset-backed currency. It has real value. What's going on there now is they're trying to remove the U.S. currency because the currency of Iraq is the dinar. It is not the Federal Reserve note, just like here in the United States. Our real or original currency was asset-backed paper notes or gold, silver coin. That's our real currency. The Federal Reserve note is not our currency either. It's a private currency that we pay interest on, that we pay to borrow and to use, okay? It's basic economics. When you go to the bank, you're going to want to talk to a private banker. When you sit down with your private banker, you want to make it perfectly clear. It says that no tellers are to ever see your account. Now you can do this by talking to your private banker and asking for a sweep account. Sweep account. It says that means that if you put all of your wealth into a trust account, into a trust or some other type of an account that you set up with them, what you do is you open up a sweep account, which means the money that you're going to be spending on a daily basis or a monthly basis, you move from your primary account into a sweep account so that the only thing that they see is your sweep account, which will have whatever is necessary for your monthly expenses. And you can do that so that nothing goes to your primary account, your principal account. No credit cards, nothing. No one even knows it's there because you're singularly using your sweep account. You're protecting your account. It says, do not agree in any way, shape, or form to give the bank power of attorney. It says, you tell them straight away that you do not concur or ever agree to have your account used as a test account. And if you don't know what that means, you ask your banker or you do some research on it on the web, okay? You do not have automatic withdrawals from your primary or principal account ever. And I've always hated that because every single time I've ever had automatic withdrawals, it's always screwed me because they always seem to take it out when you're least expecting it. And then you bounce stuff and you get fees. That's been my life. I don't know. It says I try not to have anything automatically taken out unless there is a very specific date I know it's coming out. Because I know a lot of these things, like certain subscriptions online or stuff, they're supposed to come out on a certain day, but they seem to never do that. They come out like every 3 weeks and not like once a month. It's every 3 weeks. So they actually get like a couple extra payments. Just infuriates me. So I stopped doing that stuff. He says everything goes to a sweep account or other sweep accounts that are specifically set up for withdrawals. Do not have a computer or a remote banking system from your iPhone or your computer. In other words, you may have to go to the bank once a month or once every 2 months and move money to your sweep account and other accounts that you have. And you do it at the bank. You don't use your electronics. These are all things we need to do in order to protect your wealth. As for credit cards that are secured, be sure they don't have the RDIF chips in them, because you can go walking down the street and someone can scan your cards and you'll lose money just like that. Happens every day, he says. Make sure you have the right loss and theft protection on anything that you do. It says, ask your bank what kind of protection it offers if your debit card is stolen or lost, or your credit card is lost. Thousands of dollars, can be pulled from your checking account, and in many cases, you wouldn't be nearly as protected if your credit card or cards were stolen. Do not ever agree to a card that has a universal gold default clause. That means you have to read the paperwork. It allows your bank to look through your credit accounts, and if it sees something that, well, you just don't want them going through your shit, he says, end of story, period. Okay? They are not God. They are not mommy or daddy. You are your mommy and daddy. He says, they are supposed to provide a service, and if they don't, you find another place to do your business. You can open up multiple currency accounts, and what that means is there are several baskets that are going to be exchanged or revalued. Now, you may have currency that isn't in the first batch. He says, what you may do is open up a multi-currency account where each account would be specifically for that foreign currency. Again, you can talk to your bankers or banks about this. I don't know that credit unions have this service. Yeah. So we have a credit union. So they're supposed to be a lot better than a normal bank. So thank God we have that. Yeah, I do have a personal account through US Bank, which I'm going to have to close that account because it's one of the banks that's been listed under all these banks failing. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go close that. He says, I could be wrong, but I'm not aware of it. He says, when you make your appointment, don't go to your local bank. Go to a bank that doesn't know you. That's your branch. He says that's maybe 2, 3, or 4 cities away. The purpose for that is that where you go locally in your town, people that work at the bank won't talk about the fact that you have all this money or you came into all this wealth. You don't want that because people talk and they may be totally innocent about it, but that puts you in jeopardy. He says that could be an issue. Would be here because we're a very small town and everybody knows somebody, works with somebody, everybody's either related or it's weird. In some ways it's good to be a small town, but then again sometimes it's not good to be in a small town because everybody knows each other. It's really, really good advice, he says, so you might want to look at that idea, okay? Because at the very beginning you don't want tellers to see your account, but they'll know you were in the bank doing the exchange. You don't want anybody to know. This protects you and the rest of your family because money is generational. It's meant to be generational. It says now, a percentage of this money needs to be paid forward. We need to do something good with the wealth. And I assume he's talking about when we're all going to get money. hopefully by the end of the year, maybe next year. Like I said, I truly think, and I've seen a lot of people saying we're a year behind, and I found other people saying that, so it's not just me. Um, and all the stuff that's going on, I feel like we're still going to be going through it through spring, summer, fall, and hopefully by the end of the year, things will start being more positive or paying off for humanity. So let's just say it that way. So we're still going to be going through some stuff, guys, but just hang in there. We can do it. We can do it, right? We can do it. We can do it. If I can, you can. He says the best place to start is in your local community, and I'm sure there are things that can be fixed, and I'm sure that there are services that have been lost or forgotten or discontinued that can be reinstituted. Some things that are really simple to do is schools. They need new books. They need upgrades. They need better heating. They need sports put back in. They need the arts put back into the schools. I just think we need to have schools like Sherry Big Band wants to do, the Aramis Learning Centers. I think we should have schools like that. Not a school, a learning center. Yeah, word. So that's my focus. He says the food banks need to be full. And I'm not sure I agree with this one, but he says police department could use better equipment. Our police department around here, they're so crooked. And they're yeah, they drive around in really nice either SUVs or Dodge Chargers. Yeah, they have really nice equipment. I don't think they're hurting for money. He says your fire department could use better equipment, newer equipment. First responders, they need newer equipment because these are the people we count on to help us when we need it. You want them to have the equipment they need so they can be of service to us. It says your local governments, if they're not doing the job, get rid of them. And that's what I've said. And I've kind of posted that on Telegram. And I'm like, if you don't like your representatives, and I'm not saying violence, but you can physically go as a group. And when these people try to come to work, you go and stand in front of them and you take their office key. You tell them they are fired, they are no longer of service, and they will no longer be in that position. Like whatever happened to citizens arrest, we really don't have that anymore. People don't know about it, that we can use that. Yeah, like physically tell them they are no longer in that position. That's what we're going to have to do. Because in the old days, they used to take them out in the street, hang them, turn feather them, do what they needed to do. But of course, we can't do that because we have to show love and compassion. We have to be peaceful, right? Even though part of you really don't want to be that way. You just want revenge. Yeah. So physically, yeah, take them out of their job. He says, run for office yourself or invest in those you know who will do the right thing. Okay. Not talkers. We need doers from this point on. Only doers. That's what we have to do. And that's what we have to support. And that's what we need to look for and to encourage people who are doers to actually run for office, and not only in a local level, but a state level. Remember, it was the states in America that created the federal government. It wasn't the other way around. The federal government is supposed to be responsive to the states, and that only happens when we have the right people running our states, okay? In my opinion, we need to abolish the two-party system. Absolutely agree with that. No more parties. He says no more parties. It is so broken. I don't see the point in doing it. I think it should be whoever the best man or woman is for the job, and that's a doer that will make things happen. And we help that person once they're in office get things done. We have to rebuild our country. Absolutely. We have technologies that are hundreds and hundreds of years old that have been suppressed. Levitation craft, wireless electricity, that all has to be installed. And in the installment process, that means we have to take down all the old stuff, all the high-rise wiring systems, all that has to come down. There's going to be work for everybody, but we all need to participate to make sure it happens, and not only make it happen, that we know the system, that there are no more secrets. We know how it works because we helped build it, and that future generations will learn how to take care of it themselves, how it works, how it runs, so they can protect the integrity of it, that it doesn't get hijacked again like it did in the late 1800s, early 1900s. We had wireless electricity. Tesla did it. We had electric cars that went 1,000 miles. He said, we had this. And he laughs and he says, and they removed it. And they removed it for greed and their own purposes. So we have to protect this. And the best way to protect it is to make sure everybody knows how it works and they participate in the building of it, and the restoration of it, and the maintenance of it. And the same thing with the school system. I don't know if every teacher should be fired, but that's something that every community will work with, that you're going to have to look at. You have just a short amount of time, if you don't own any foreign currency, he says, to either get some. There are many people on the chat who are very knowledgeable about this. There are many sites on Telegram that talk about this. A little bit of silver, gold, if you can do it. I understand a lot of people are strapped. Just do the very best you can. No one is going to starve, okay? The entire birth certificate system, all that money that is in that account will be returned to you. All of the taxes you paid will be returned to you. This is not hopium, okay? This is not hopium, because the tax system was set up by the Fed in order to draw more money out of the system. And that money was deposited into banks, and it did not come back to the government to give back to the people to rebuild America. That money went overseas. That money went overseas, says, to Britain? Britain, yeah, to the royals. Your tax money have been going overseas. Just do the research. That's all you got to do. Current events, he says, okay. Current events, the balloon. Everybody's talking about the balloon. I don't believe anything we've heard on the news, anything. And why isn't the Department of Defense going in and retrieving this Chinese balloon, this spy balloon from a foreign country? Why is the FBI doing it? Why isn't they doing it? It says, when do you use the FBI? When you want to cover something up, he says. They're really good at that. They're really good at that. Says, and the damn balloon looks very strangely like the one that Northrop Grumman was building on a DoD contract that they were awarded in 2021. When he talks about the FBI covering up stuff, it makes me wonder, because literally we're 30 minutes from University of Idaho, and if you haven't heard, a few months back, the killings of four of the college students up there. So yeah, they couldn't find any information. They couldn't, the whole thing was really weird. Every bit of information about that whole scene, and how, if you want to look into that, yeah, it was University of Idaho, 4 students were killed. And then apparently after they found this so-called guy in Pennsylvania, then they put out a gag order on anybody not to talk about it, which seemed really strange to me. And they brought in the FBI for this whole thing, okay? And then, what was it, about a month ago in our local paper, It said they were they were demolitioning the house, okay, that this happened in. When do you ever demolish a house? Okay, I know it's a bad thing, but why would you be demolitioning that house so soon after? It just, something red flagged in my head, and I was like, something's up with that. They are covering, somebody is covering something up with that massively, massively. So when he says you bring in the FBI when you want to cover something up, I was like, oh, you are right. So we're watching a movie, ladies and gentlemen. It's a film. They're trying to wake everybody up, and whether you like it or not, this is the way it is. This is what they're doing. They're trying to wake everybody up. They're trying to show you what's going on because they're operating with very strict rules on secrecy and the sharing of information, classified information. Now, if that was just an outside threat, that'd be one thing, but it isn't just an outside threat. It's an in-country threat. It's our banks, it's our media, it's clowns in action, it's intelligence sources, it's elements within the Department of Justice. This is why the enemy is here living with us in our country, wanting to take down our country, to destroy our home. He says, he didn't explain, but I'm sure he's talking about the military here. They're gonna do this the way they know how to, okay? They're not gonna start making up new rules and implementing them when they don't have any experience doing it. They're gonna do it the way they need to do it, the way they're comfortable with, and they know how to manage. He says that's just the way it's going to be, and that's the way it's going to go down. With the assistance of the Alliance, this is going to be successful. It already is, but we're still playing some things out. He says, now, I need to share with, he says, well, mostly the detractors. I don't give a shit what you think. I so fucking don't care. You need to reevaluate what you're thinking, because you say you want to be free. You say you want to be prosperous. You say you want all of us to know the truth, but you bitch and you whine and you moan about everything. He was on rant. Says there's a huge contradiction there. How can you possibly be all those things you want to be, and be so negative? How do you expect to draw that to you when you're negative Nelly all the time, complaining about everything all the time? Pick one. He says, just pick one and be that, okay? So the question is not as what Collier's saying, not as Danan is saying, not as what Michael Sala is saying, because we're genuine people. We give a shit. He says, that's why we're here doing this. Danny Henderson, we're all doing the work. We're out front and center. We're taking the shots. We're not trashing you because we're too busy taking care of business. Now, if you're going to say what you want, all this stuff, but you're not acting that way, you need to go figure out who you are, he said, instead of trashing us. I mean, come on. If you have an audience, you clearly had the opportunity to do some good. Then do the good. He says, do the good or get another job. Do something else. As if this isn't hard enough. As if what we're fighting, the satanic stuff, the regressive aliens, the demonic spirits, as if that's not hard enough. You have to undermine us as well, and all of humanity, with your own personal bullshit. He says, it's just God. He says, please figure this out. For all of us, please figure this out. We need you to help. We need you to be positive, to create, going forward, moving forward, okay? We're not backwards. No one is backing up except you. That's not where the future is. The future's ahead of us. That's where we're going. Now you can either come with us or you're going to get left behind and you're going to end up all by yourself. Because at some point, everybody's going to realize, oh my God, look at this. This is awesome. And they're all going to move forward, and you're going to look like an idiot mumbling to yourself. And he laughs and he says, I've seen it a million times in my years with this. Everybody wants to reinvent the wheel. There's nothing wrong with the wheel. The issue is who's driving the car. He says, that's the issue. Who's driving the wagon? That's the issue. It's always been the issue. The wheel was just the wheel, okay? So where are you driving your car? Where are you taking your wagon? I have said over and over again, there are no failure points. With every fiber of my being, ladies and gentlemen, I know this to be true. I absolutely know this to be true. I cannot do or say anything that's going to make you gut check. To learn to trust your own intuition, okay? Your own system of checking in, of guidance, your own guidance system. There's nothing I can do about that. But if your guidance system is cluttered with, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, it would be my suggestion that you begin to eliminate one I don't know a day or a week, or you eliminate those I don't knows. The way you eliminate those I don't knows is you look into it. You look for hard information. You talk to people you trust and you can ask them about it. Now, 100% of everything that's out there may not necessarily be true, but your heart and your soul knows better, okay? Your heart is always wiser than your head. Sometimes your heart wants things that we don't think is good for us, and sometimes it doesn't turn out well, okay? And if you've been married and divorced, you know what I'm talking about. But the heart wants what the heart wants, and there's always something that's positive that comes out of it in the end. You either grow, you're either stronger, you have these remarkable children. There's always a benefit, and being a human being is a journey. It's a journey, especially on earth. What a school this is. Oh my gosh, he says. But the goal here is to empower yourself. However you do that is entirely up to your journey. Be the cognizant, but be cognizant of it, he says. Be intentional in wanting to empower yourself. When you meditate, when you pray, when you talk to Source, or when you talk to Christ, says, Lord, empower me to do the right things. Empower me to walk the way. Empower me to help humanity, to be a light, to be a guide, to be a navigator for humanity. Says that's what it's about. And for those of you who know you're a starseed, that's why you came in, is to be that person, that navigator, that light, as well as learn some lessons for yourself and get the shit kicked out of you. He laughs. And I think most of us have got that lesson down pretty pat. He says, now it's to be the light and to be the navigator part. At least that's where I'm going. He says, so, you're going to hear all kinds of negativity. Just let it pass over you. Okay? If it's grounded in fear, it's the deep state. It's the dark side known as the cabal, because they're losing power. They're losing control. And their ass is grass. He says, plain and simple, their ass is grass. Okay? Don't buy into it. There's a lot of performance today on the world stage. Performance that should be a great deal of comfort to you. Says we just have to try to wake each other up, and I'm not sure how to do that. After 30-something years, I'm not sure how to do that still. I had my hands full with my own, and they would have been the last ones I thought I'd have a problem with. Go figure. So, none of us have all the answers. I guess he was talking about he had his hands full with his own kids. He says, be eager to laugh, be dedicated to each other, and love yourself, and we can accomplish anything. Okay. That's the end of my dialogue. Let's go to some questions. Okay. So, first question, Alex, do you know if there is a 1,000-year time loss? For instance, there were no Middle Ages, 500 to 1500 AD. And Alex, his answer is, I'm familiar with the theory, and I'm also aware that time doesn't actually exist. It's a construct that we create, and we're not the only ones. When extraterrestrials talk about traveling, going back in time, they're also creating a construct, because otherwise there'd be no back in time. See, and that brings me back to, like, when you said that, I was like, oh, it's like Interstellar. It's like the movie Interstellar, where he goes into the Tesseract, like that, where there's all these lines, and each line is like a frequency, and he's able to look past and back in time and forward in time. And oh wow, like that movie really really made me think. Movies are good when, like, you come out of there thinking and you're questioning everything. And even to this day, when people start talking about things like this, and it like brings me back to that movie, and you're like, oh my gosh, that is exactly what that tesseract was like. Each little line was a different frequency, like on a radio, and you could just, he went back in time, and he was his daughter's ghost sending her messages through her bookshelf, and it was just wow, so amazing. He says, so the purpose for the idea of time is that it would be very difficult for us to live or fully comprehend everything constantly happening all at once in the moment. I do not know about the 1,000-year, if they just changed it or made it up. And to be perfectly honest with you, that wouldn't even matter to me. He says it genuinely wouldn't matter to me whether it's 2023 or 1,033, 1,023 or 3,023. He says it wouldn't matter to me, because to me it's irrelevant. What matters to me is what we're doing in the moment, the here and now, in the moment, and the opportunity that we have now in the moment to create peace and to come together as a humanity. That matters to me right now. Not the date, not the year, because that doesn't change what we're doing right this minute, whatever the date is. He says, I stopped celebrating New Year's. I haven't celebrated New Year's in a long time either. Like, I just, doesn't mean anything to me, right? Just doesn't. He says, who cares? It's not that big of a deal to me. It's not that big of a deal. He said, so I don't know. He says, I don't know. I shared my thoughts on it. Does that mean my 2003 car is really a 1,003 car? And he laughs. He says, does it matter? No, it doesn't. He says, it doesn't matter. He says, I mean, if I walked into an auto parts store and I said I need a front differential for a 1,003 Lexus, he says, they'd run me out of there. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Next question. Okay, recently it has occurred to me that many of the synchronicities us envoys or star seeds are experiencing may in fact have multiple purposes aside from activating many of us. Do you think it may be also that the white hats in the military are coordinating this operation with their civilian counterparts? If so, would explain why there are no failure points, wouldn't it? And Alex says that's a really good idea, and I would ask them. Those that are on the channel right now, and he laughs, but I know they wouldn't respond. He says, because that would certainly add a whole new element to these webinars, wouldn't they? He says, our military, they're us, and we're them. They're our families, brothers and sisters, neighbors, kids. They're us. They're part of humanity. Even though they do these jobs and the jobs that they do, you know, when their job is done and they go off base or they're on base and they have children and they go to school, he says, they're us. They're us. I've talked about this before and I'll mention it again. There is a wonderful video and you'll find it on YouTube, and it's called The Tale of Two Brains. And it's about 15 minutes and it talks about the difference between men's brains and women's brains. But it's really interesting the way he presents it. Men compartmentalize their lives and they have these boxes where they have these specific things about their life, and men are differently like that. And that's why there's a great deal of men in the military, because we have the ability to compartmentalize our jobs. And then when our job's done or we close the box, we go home and we have a family life. And when we leave the house to go to work, we put that box aside for the most part, and then we open up the work box. And that particular lifestyle, if you're in the military, is in that box, where it's a lot more interesting for women because they don't compartmentalize. Everything is connected to each other and it absolutely has its place. And what keeps everything together is the fact that women hold it all together. And let's face it, they do. They do. I would have to say there's a great deal of truth to that. And you can watch that video, Tale of Two Brains. He's a marriage counselor. He says it's really, really good and it's really, really funny because it's true. That's my answer to that. So, of course, it would be because we're all connected. We're all humanity. It says when they're wearing the uniform, they're in a whole different zone, a whole different level. And when they're not, they still carry the level, and then they're part of humanity again. And when they leave the service, they have to reacclimate into being human, being fully with humanity again, and not being at that level. Some make that acclimation well, others it takes a while, and some just don't reacclimate. It's interesting. They would prefer to stay in that box. Okay, that's my answer. Yeah, I think that was my husband, because he when he got out of the Navy, he just it was really hard for him to reacclimate into civilian life again. And I think it would have been better if he just stayed in and retired, because some people just they need that guidance and they need that structure, no matter how hard it is. But he feels like he got respect while he was in the military. He got respect for what he did, and they were all a family. They all had each other's back. And then when you get into civilian life again, it's very hard because no one has your back. You're all alone. So it is really hard for them to adjust. That's why a lot of them end up divorced or homeless or, commit suicide. It's very hard. Next question. Do the A's dance? And I had that question written. I'm not sure if I asked one of you to ask him, but yeah, that was a question I would have had for him. Do they dance? He says, yes, they do. They levitate when they dance. Can you do that? He says, probably not yet anyways. So I thought that was interesting. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how is the A's sense of humor? Do they get human jokes? And Alex says, Mornay has a sense of humor. He says he's acquired it. The Sayas, really not much. I think the children, he says, I don't know if it's humor or just that they find things interestingly funny. I don't know if they joke around with each other or tease each other. I don't know that because excuse me, he says, my telepathy was only really connected to Mornay and Visayas. Mornay's crew has a sense of humor, but it's not one that is outwardly showed. It's more of a look because they're working. They're not as expressive as he is or has become, at least with me. He says, my interaction with his crew has not been anywhere near as personal or as intimate as it has been with Mornay and Visayas. So he says, but I would say yes, because they do smile and they do have great, huge smiles when they're with each other. So I would say yes, they clearly experience joy. Some of that I will interpret as having a sense of humor, but I don't know any Andromedan jokes. He says, not that I would even understand them. He says, because their life is so different than ours. I told a joke once to Mornay and his crew. I said, there was a man walking with his 6 or 7-year-old son in an old graveyard, and they were reading the old headstones, and it was a very old cemetery. And the little boy said, Daddy, what does that one say? And the father read it. Here lies Jim Johnson, born 1801, died 1899. And then the little boy said, Daddy, what does it say at the bottom there? So the father brushed away the dead plants, flowers, and grass away, and he read it. And it said, here lies a politician and an anonymous man. So the little boy said, not knowing the word politician, said, Daddy, what does that mean? The father stood up and grabbed the son by the shoulder and said, well, son, it means there's 2 bodies in this one grave, and none of them got it, he said. Oh, no. So basically, yeah, one was a politician and one was an honest man. One killed the other one, I guess is what he meant, but took the other one out. Ella, so he laughs. So he says, none of the A's got it. He says, so I was 1 and none on that. And JP asks, have you ever seen them crack up or laugh so much? And Alex says, no, I have not. So I find it strange, I guess, being a human, we're so expressive, like we have so much expression, and to know that other beings don't have that. Like we can laugh so hard, you like pee pants sometimes, and like um, we have an expressive, just amounts of expressive emotions, and to be around beings that aren't that expressive, you would think, well, what did I say? Was it me? Was I wrong? Like you would think there was something wrong because they're not that expressive. They're not into it like we are. Next question. Is source a duality, as some say? If so, how? I can understand and accept the duality balance between many things, such as creation and destruction, in some ways, but not good and evil, love and I couldn't get the word they said. Any thoughts on this, please? Alex says, well, here's my thoughts on that. I think what we've been taught about God is mostly wrong. I think what people experience themselves when they have a meditation or a prayer during any moment where they fully connect with the source or the all that is, and they have a moment of grace. And it's very, very hard to describe a moment of grace. They can give you a glimpse of what source is. Now, the A's are 5th density. They refer to source as the isness. Even they are still trying to grasp exactly what the source is. It says what it's made up of, what it thinks, what it feels, how it generates dimensions. Even they don't know. So if they don't know, there's no way at this particular moment I would know. I just know it's there. I just know it's there. I know that for whatever reason, it shows itself to different people. I know that it sends avatars, wisdom, people, profound wisdom to come forward to different races at different times to alter a frequency, to put or that frequency puts that civilization back on track or moves into a different direction. I think each of us represents that source, and whatever our journeys are, or wherever they take us, that source takes that information and learns more about itself. So, if we're doing that, this is really truly what I think. If we're all extensions of Source, we are on our own journey, taking our experiences back to Source. And this is happening in all the dimensions, in every universe, in every galaxy. And so this was, I think this is when I went to see George Cavassalis, this is kind of how he explained it, was that like source is the all that is the isness. Okay. And that's where we started. That's where we come from. And the source wanted to experience all different things in life in this structure of physicality and dimensions. So the source is kind of like this. Like I've said before, is either like this big diamond with all these little, cuts in it, I guess, or you could say like a huge mirror. And like if that mirror breaks into a million pieces, it's still a part of that mirror, okay? Or if you want to think of it as a diamond and the light shines through and you have all these different little rays of light, it's fractalized, and that's what we are. And we've never been taught that. We've always been taught through religions that, oh, you're not a part of God, you're not God, you have to pray to this priest and that priest can bring it to God for you, blah, 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 blah. No, we are source. We are source. We are unconditional love. We are source. Okay. We are all a part of source. And once people understand that and they quit praying to all these idolatry things, and that's why religion drives me crazy, because they don't understand. You don't give your power away. You're giving your power away by saying that there's someone better than you. Okay? We are all of source. We are all source from the all that is. Okay? That's how I see it. And we just come down here on our different journeys and all these different lifetimes to learn things, to experience things, to grow and advance in spirituality, right? So that's how I see it. It's explainable. Okay. He says, is it even possible to define what source is? Probably not, except I am. And that's really just a phrase, 2 words, I am. So, yeah, when you hear that in the New Age or religion thing, when you say, I am, when you say I am source. I am source. We all are. All of you. All of you are source. Okay, what does that truly mean to source? When source says I am, what does that mean? What does that mean to source? Could we even comprehend what that statement would mean? Here on earth, I am. That's a huge one, he says. And today, I don't have the answer. Tomorrow, I probably won't either. Next question. What do the A's say about fasting in regards to one's health? And Alex says they often do it. He says they often do it. And the whole process of fasting is built into their culture. Typically, when they have a feast or a gathering, which we would call a party, and everyone has their bounty, he says it's very typical for them to go without food for several days. But that's built into their culture. It's something they all do anyway, and it's a good practice. It's a really good practice. And again, their physicality, their needs, their bodies are very different than ours, and they live in a pristine environment. Their orchards are amazing, which I've said in the past. And honestly, I think if our food had more nutrition, we would all eat less because we'd be getting the nutrition our body needs. That's what I think. He says, actually, that's what I know, because we're not getting enough nutrition in the food because it's either been overfarmed or they have screwed with the seeds. There's a whole scenario of things that have been going on here in order to undermine humanity, especially our physicality. Next question regarding Yeti. Are they from a different dimension? And if they are, why are they here? I say yes. I've said that for a long time. Alex says that's an excellent question, and I don't know. I don't have that answer. The fact that they can jump or biolocate and open portals and close portals and walk into them, says, which suggests that they're either very high up third or lower fourth. Not that they're all dark, because they're not. Says there are some who are incredibly aggressive. He says most Yeti and Bigfoot, though, they just want to be left alone, and they would love to coexist with humans, I think, because I know that there are people who are spending a great deal of time to get to know them, and actually some who do interact on a pretty regular basis. And my understanding is that they are quite lovable and quite protective, and they contribute a lot. They're also very giving when they're not being harassed. I went to a Bigfoot conference several years ago up in Chewella, Washington. Chewella. Yeah, it's very beautiful out there. I wish I went out there just to see someone who had a booth there, and I did some shopping and got in on some of the lectures. But yeah, it was really interesting. I wish I would have seen them. Next question. Do the A's have the same energy bodies as us? Chakras and meridians and light bodies, etc. And Alex says yes. There are a lot of familiarities. They do have chakras. They do have pressure points. They have a lot more than we do. They have 12 chakras and pressure points. I don't remember how many. I'd have to go back to my old notes. He says, boy, CS, that's such a great question. I'm not sure anyone's asked me that question. He says, wow, in all these years. Yeah, they do. He says, that's because where they live, there's more frequency and higher frequency. The band or frequency is much wider than ours. And of course, it's different. It's very different. And that would be the same for fourth density as well. They would also have a physical chakra system, but not exactly. But what exactly it is, he says, I don't know. But they would because of the bands. They would because of the bands of frequency and how they process energy physically would be greater. So they would, of course, probably need an expanded chakra system. Maybe it's 9, maybe it's 10. He says, I don't know. It wouldn't be exactly like ours, though. Good question. Okay. He says, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for supporting our little webinar. Please support Dr. Sala and Elena Danan with their webinars. I care a great deal for these people. They have good hearts and only want to be the best for humanity, and they care a bit about humanity, and they care about all of us. And they also want the truth, and they're doing the best that they can. Also, Danny Henderson, I know she's been given a hard time now, but people just don't know what they're talking about. She's got a heart of gold, and she has done so much to help so many people that no one knows about because she doesn't broadcast it, but she's a saint. She's really a British saint who's scrappy at times, and he laughs, very scrappy. And there's so many others. Laura Eisenhower, just remarkable, absolutely remarkable human being who's going to be so important. She's important now, but in the future, she's going to take everything to the next level. And Jenny B, we did a video with Chris O'Connor and Danny Henderson. She's rocking the boat. She's absolutely rocking the boat. And there's so many others. There really are. Rob Potter, another great one, just doing everything he can, wants to help humanity. There's just so many to mention. Thank you for being here. Thank you all. Thank you for all you do to support all of us. Thank you for holding the light. Don't get sucked into the negative things. Things are so bright. It says there is so much positivity going on, but it's always darkest before the dawn. Always. It says, and remember, after every storm, when it passes, the sunlight is still there. Okay? So don't give up hope. We're gonna be okay. We just have some weather to ride through. Okay? God bless you. I love all of you. Thank you for helping and contributing and supporting me and the guys. We'll see you next week. So that was it. Thank you so much for listening, my family. It's so pretty. I'm gonna have to go sit outside and pet my little feral stray kitty outside. I've got her trained now. I come outside and I put the little throw on my lap and she immediately jumps into my lap so I can pet her. And she gives me kisses and she just drools and she's just a sweet girl. But so I'll have to give her some loving today. Thank you so much for listening. Go and support Alex on his webinars. They're going to be back to just doing Fridays now, and just I think he said 1 question and answer and 2 original webinars, and I think he's going to take a week off in the month, which is great. I'm glad he is, because then I have a chance to catch up. Anyway, thank you so much. Like I said, for all the new subscribers, welcome to Cosmic Metamorphosis. Go back and watch my earlier videos. I have lots of information. I just started sharing Alex's information because I have followed him. I've watched him for probably a good 10-15 years now. So, and I just resonate a lot with his stuff. So, and I just kind of throw my 2 cents in every now and then. So I appreciate all of you. I want to give all of you a hug, and thank you for being a part of my soul family. Just, yes, we're going to get through this. It's getting excited. It's a little scary at times, but then I think, oh no, I'm just excited. I'm just excited for things to change. Just want that change. So thank you for watching and subscribing. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. Yeah, and show other people. So I love all of you, and continue to be the lighthouse and shine your light so that the lost ships in the darkness at sea will find your light and find their way home. Okay, so say we all. That's my Battlestar Galactica saying. It's kind of like where we go one, we go all, but this is so say we all. And I love all of you, and I will see you next time. Bye.